Have you ever noticed that we live in a world that seems impossibly contradictory? On one hand, we have smartphones in our pockets, capable of connecting us to almost every mind on the planet, telescopes peering billions of light years into the past, and medical technologies that can replace failing organs. On the other hand, hunger persists in cities that light up with neon advertisements. Misinformation spreads faster than the speed of light in a vacuum, and loneliness lingers in the hearts of people who are, by every measurable metric, connected. It's a paradox, isn't it? Humanity advancing outward toward the cosmos, while often struggling inward here on Earth. And yet, perhaps that very contradiction is a sign, a subtle hint, that our understanding of reality is only scratching the surface. That the universe is teaching us lessons, not just through stars and galaxies, but through the reflections of our own lives. Consider for a moment the concept of dimensions. To us, the world appears three-dimensional. Length, width, and height add in time, and we move into the fourth dimension, tracing our lives along a continuum of past, present, and future. But what if there were more dimensions we can't perceive directly? Not yet, not fully. Perhaps the fifth dimension isn't a place but a perspective, a lens through which we see connections, patterns, and consequences that remain invisible in our day-to-day awareness. The first sign that you might already be living in this fifth dimension is awareness of interconnection. Look up at the night sky. Those points of light are not just distant suns, they are archives of the past, carriers of cosmic history. Their light has traveled millions, even billions of years to reach your eyes. And in that light, you are witnessing events that occurred long before humans even existed, yet somehow, through your observation, you are part of that history now. You feel small, yes, but profoundly linked to the grand narrative of existence. The second sign is curiosity, but not the idle curiosity of trivia or gossip. It's the deep, gnawing curiosity that compels you to ask, why are we here? What is the story of life? And here's the important part, what is my role within that story? In physics, the observer influences the observed. In life, awareness influences reality. The very act of paying attention, of seeking knowledge, can shift the trajectory of your own experience and, by extension, the collective experience of those around you. Humor, too, is a sign. Yes, humor. There's a cosmic joke in the fact that we exist at all. Out of infinite possibilities, consciousness emerged. And within that consciousness, a species capable of pondering the cosmos and yet often struggles to pick up after itself. There's irony here, but also humility. To laugh at this irony is not to belittle the universe, it is to participate in its unfolding. To recognize that even as we are small, we are significant because we are the universe reflecting upon itself. And perhaps the fifth sign is responsibility not imposed, not moralized, but embraced as a natural consequence of awareness. Gravity shapes the orbit of planets. Our actions shape the orbit of communities, societies, and ecosystems. Every choice, no matter how insignificant it seems, radiates outward like ripples on a cosmic pond. You may not see the end of the ripple, but physics tells us it's there. Similarly, ethics tells us the universe does not reward ignorance of consequences. We are not merely inhabitants of the cosmos. We are participants in its ongoing story. As you move forward, consider your interactions, the kindness you extend, the curiosity you cultivate, the care you take in shaping your own consciousness. They are, in a sense, acts of cosmic responsibility. In the fifth dimension, time and space are not just coordinates, they are canvases, frameworks in which your choices echo. The stars themselves are indifferent, yes, but we are not. We are instruments of meaning in an otherwise indifferent cosmos. And it is this capacity for meaning, for reflection, for responsibility that defines our humanity. The fifth sign of living in the fifth dimension is pattern recognition. It's the quiet, almost imperceptible realization that the universe operates in rhythms celestial, biological, social, the way galaxies spin, the way tides rise and fall, the way economies boom and collapse, they all follow patterns rules that govern behavior, even if we fail to notice them. And when you start seeing those patterns in your own life, in the lives of others, you begin to understand something profound. The cosmos is not random chaos, but a network of probabilities and possibilities, and our consciousness is the lens through which it comes into focus. The sixth sign is temporal awareness, the understanding that time is not just a line, but a tapestry. When you recognize that the choices you make today are threads that weave into tomorrow, you start living with a kind of gravity that is both humbling and empowering. Consider this: the light from the stars you admire tonight has traveled for millions of years to reach you. You are seeing the past, but the photons are in the present. Your consciousness bridges those vast stretches of space-time. And isn't that a beautiful metaphor for human life? That what we do now, though fleeting, will ripple across years, perhaps generations? The seventh sign is resonance with curiosity. Not the fleeting spark of interest, but a deep, enduring resonance with the unknown. You find yourself staring at the night sky and asking, how many worlds are out there? You wonder about life, about consciousness, about what it truly means to exist in a universe governed by both chaos and law. And the more you ask, the more you realize curiosity is not just a trait. It is the mechanism by which the human mind touches infinity. Eighth, there is humility in the face of scale. You stand at the edge of the Grand Canyon or gaze at an image of the pillars of creation, and you realize that your problems, your triumphs, your life, though significant, are but a fraction of a grander story. And yet, paradoxically, that very humility does not diminish you. It elevates you. To understand one's smallness is to understand one's responsibility. To recognize that your actions matter, even in the face of cosmic immensity, is a kind of power reserved for conscious beings. The ninth sign is compassion born from comprehension. When you grasp the delicate balance of ecosystems, the fragility of life, the precariousness of civilization, empathy becomes inevitable. Science, in its cold rigor, teaches us facts, but facts, when filtered through awareness, demand a response. The universe doesn't care if you act ethically, but you do. And in that act of caring, you participate in the evolution of consciousness itself. The 10th sign is playfulness with complexity. The universe is unimaginably complex, yet you find joy not in simplification, but in wrestling with complexity. You laugh at paradoxes, delight in irony, and find pleasure in the fact that we can ask questions that may never be fully answered. This is not frivolity, this is sophistication. It is the recognition that life's richness is in the journey, not just the answers. The 11th sign is responsibility anchored in knowledge. Every experiment, every hypothesis, every insight carries with it a duty. Nuclear physics gave us the atom bomb. Genetics gives us the power to shape life itself. Knowledge is not morally neutral. It comes with the obligation to wield it wisely. Living in the fifth dimension is knowing that understanding confers accountability, not for punishment, but for the possibility of meaningful impact. The 12th sign is reverence for the ordinary. To live in higher dimensions is not to ignore the mundane, but to see the miraculous in it. The way morning light filters through leaves, the cadence of rain on a rooftop, the laughter of a child, these are the small wonders that make the vast universe intimate. Even as you contemplate quasars and black holes, you understand that beauty exists here in your grasp every day. The 13th sign is an insistence on truth tempered with wonder. In a world saturated with misinformation, skepticism is a shield, but curiosity is the key. You don't accept what is told blindly, yet you remain open to awe. You can recognize that the laws of physics are immutable, while still marveling at the mystery of consciousness. This duality, rigor, and wonder is the hallmark of fifth-dimensional thinking. And finally, the 14th sign is active engagement in the universe's story. To exist in the fifth dimension is to recognize that life is not a spectator sport. It is not enough to observe the stars or read the works of great thinkers. You must act, question, create, and care. Your decisions, your empathy, your curiosity, they ripple outward, influencing not only your own path, but the interconnected web of life across Earth, across generations, and perhaps someday across the cosmos. So what does it mean, after all, to live in the fifth dimension? It means embracing a consciousness that is aware, curious, humble, and responsible. It means understanding that you are a participant in an unfolding story, one that stretches from the smallest atom in your body to the farthest quasar in the night sky. And it means recognizing that the universe, in all its vastness, has chosen to reflect upon itself through you. As you move forward, carry this awareness not as a burden, but as an opportunity. Let it guide your actions, inform your choices, and deepen your appreciation for the astonishing reality you inhabit. For in doing so, you are not just living, you are contributing to the ongoing dialogue between matter, energy, consciousness, and the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. We are stardust, yes, but we are also storytellers. And every act of reflection, every gesture of care, every spark of curiosity is part of a narrative that is as old as time itself. The cosmos did not have to create you, but it did. And now, in turn, you have the chance to create meaning in it. That, perhaps, is the most human and most cosmic thing of all. And so, if you've noticed these 14 signs, if your mind has quietly shifted while the stars trace their paths across the night sky, you may already be living in a higher dimension, not a physical one, but a consciousness dimension. And it's here, in this space, that the ordinary becomes extraordinary. But let's pause just for a moment. Think about it. The universe doesn't revolve around you. The Milky Way doesn't bend its arm to accommodate your ego. Stars explode in supernovas. Black holes warp space-time. And yet, in the span of a human heartbeat or an entire lifetime, you can comprehend, reflect, and respond. That is remarkable. That is evidence of a species capable of self-awareness, capable of asking questions that may never be fully answered, and yet pursuing them relentlessly anyway. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Living in this fifth dimensional mindset doesn't mean you float above reality. It doesn't mean you detach from the problems, the injustices, the suffering of life. Quite the opposite. It demands engagement. The universe, vast as it is indifferent, but you are not. You are the one with agency, with choice, with the ability to nudge the cosmos in some small, meaningful way. And if you take nothing else from this, let it be this. Your choices matter, not just to you, but to the network of life that surrounds you. Consider this. In the vastness of the universe, we are stardust contemplating itself. Our bodies, forged in the hearts of stars, are now capable of asking, why? We evolved to question, to explore, to create meaning where there is no inherent mandate. And isn't that extraordinary? We are both infinitesimal and infinite, temporary and eternal, all at once. And this paradox, this tension between scale and significance, is what gives life its texture, its urgency, its poetry. And yet, humor can be found even here. In the immensity of space, humans argue over trivialities. Entire civilizations squabble over borders that, from the perspective of a satellite orbiting the Earth, are invisible lines on a blue marble. And if you think that's insignificant, consider that we are the same species capable of sending probes beyond the solar system, capable of measuring the vibrations of atoms, capable of mapping the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation itself. We are both ridiculous and sublime. And that, perhaps, is the perfect lens through which to view life, aware, humble, and infinitely curious. Because living in this fifth dimension is not about escape. It is not about ignoring the gravity of existence. It is about embracing it with eyes wide open. It is about understanding that the small choices you make today, whether acts of kindness, discoveries in science, or even simply taking the time to reflect, ripple outward into the larger web of reality. Your consciousness is not separate from the universe. It is a mechanism through which the universe experiences itself. And with that realization comes responsibility. Responsibility not as a burden, but as an invitation. An invitation to live deliberately, to think critically, to act compassionately, and to marvel continuously. To understand that, in a cosmos dominated by entropy, intelligence is a rare and precious occurrence. And we are lucky enough, some might even say privileged enough, to wield it. And here's the subtle magic of it. When you embrace this responsibility, when you choose awareness over ignorance, curiosity over complacency, compassion over indifference, you begin to shape reality in ways that are measurable, observable, and meaningful. Not in some grandiose, universe-altering explosion, but in the quiet, persistent accumulation of conscious acts. A conversation that sparks understanding, a decision that protects life, a question that leads to discovery. So, what does it mean, ultimately, to live in the fifth dimension? It means seeing the universe as it is, magnificent, indifferent, complex, and wondrous. It means recognizing yourself not as a solitary observer, but as an integral part of this cosmic drama. It means that every moment carries the potential for insight, for connection, for change, and it means that the measure of a life well lived is not just in achievements or possessions, but in the depth of awareness and the breadth of impact. We live in an era of astonishing knowledge. We can peer into the heart of a black hole, sequence the blueprint of life, and communicate across light years. Yet, these achievements, as dazzling as they are not the culmination, they are the invitation. The real work, the most profound contribution, is how we choose to apply what we know, how we engage with our fellow humans, and how we honor the delicate, fleeting, miraculous gift of existence. And so, I invite you to step fully into the fifth dimension, not as a fantastical abstraction, but as a grounded, conscious, deliberate way of living, to awaken to patterns, to embrace responsibility, to cultivate curiosity, to act with empathy, and to marvel at the sublime beauty of a universe that is both immense and intimately connected to your every thought. Because in the end, the stars are not just out there, they are within you. And the universe, in all its complexity, has given you the chance to be a storyteller, a thinker, a steward, and a witness to the ongoing, unfolding miracle of existence. We are, after all, not merely observers of the cosmos. We are participants, we are co-authors. And every moment in which we choose awareness, compassion, and action is a moment in which the universe itself becomes a little more conscious, a little more alive, a little more aware of its own magnificence. And that, my friends, is what it truly means to be alive in the fifth dimension. And yet, even as we gaze upward and ponder the enormity of the cosmos, we must turn our gaze inward. For within each of us lies a universe no less complex than the one above. The neurons firing in your brain are tracing their own constellations, carrying information, memory, and thought at speeds faster than any spacecraft we've ever built. Every decision you make, every choice, every moment of curiosity is a ripple in the fabric of your personal reality. And if you pay attention in the lives of those around you, think about it, the laws of physics are impartial. Gravity does not discriminate, entropy does not forgive. And yet, here we are, organisms with consciousness, capable of understanding those laws and even bending them to our will through science, technology, and imagination. How extraordinary is that? In a universe indifferent to our presence, we have become creators of meaning. And in that act, we step into a higher dimension, not one measured in meters or light years, but in awareness, in understanding, in action. And herein lies the paradox. The more we understand, the more we realize how little we know. There are galaxies we have never seen, particles we have barely begun to measure, and questions whose answers may elude us for centuries. But it is precisely that vast unknown that fuels the human spirit. It is the void that compels us to reach, to learn, to wonder, and to connect. Because connection is at the heart of living in the fifth dimension, not connection as a buzzword, not connection as a fleeting trend, but a deep recognition of interdependence. Every molecule in your body was once part of a star. Every breath you take is a testament to a planet's atmosphere, shaped over billions of years. Every action you take sends ripples across a network of life you may never fully comprehend. The cosmos is not a backdrop. It is a collaborator, a partner, a silent witness to your choices. And what does that demand of us? Responsibility, awareness, action. We cannot merely float through life, detached and indifferent, while the universe unfolds around us. To live in the fifth dimension is to acknowledge that your consciousness matters, your choices matter, your curiosity matters, and your capacity for empathy, for insight, for courage is part of the very fabric of the universe experiencing itself. So, how do we act in accordance with this awareness? First, we observe, we study, we question. Science is our tool for navigating both the external cosmos and the internal universe of human experience. Second, we reflect. We think critically about the consequences of our actions, the ethics of our decisions, and the impact we have on others. Third, we engage. We act deliberately, thoughtfully, and with a recognition that even small gestures, a shared insight, a moment of kindness, a step towards sustainability can cascade through reality in profound ways. And perhaps most importantly, we embrace wonder. Because wonder is the engine of discovery, the spark that drives us to explore, to innovate, to reach beyond the boundaries of what is known. It is not a naive optimism. It is a measured, conscious awe at the beauty, complexity, and mystery of existence. Wonder reminds us that even in the darkest corners of the universe, there is light. That even in moments of despair, there is potential. That even in a single human life, there is the capacity to touch the infinite. Living in the fifth dimension is, in essence, living with eyes wide open. It is seeing the invisible threads that connect us to the cosmos, to each other, and to the delicate tapestry of life. It is recognizing that every act of curiosity, every spark of compassion, every thoughtful decision is an expression of the universe understanding itself through you. And in that understanding, in that conscious participation, we find not only purpose, but profound meaning. So, the next time you look up at the night sky, remember, you are not just an observer. You are a participant in a grand unfolding story. You are a conduit through which the universe contemplates its own existence. And with that realization comes both humility and empowerment. Humility, because the cosmos is vast, ancient, and awe-inspiring. Empowerment, because you are alive, aware, and capable of shaping reality in ways both seen and unseen. And maybe, just maybe, that is the true sign that you are already living in the fifth dimension, not a place, but a state of being. A state of consciousness in which curiosity, responsibility, empathy, and wonder converge. A state of being that allows you to participate fully in the grand experiment of life, to navigate the cosmos with awareness, and to leave a legacy of understanding, compassion, and discovery. Because ultimately, the universe is not just around you, it is within you. And in every thought, every question, every act of insight, it speaks back. We are, each of us, the universe made conscious of itself. And in that awareness lies the power to live not merely as inhabitants of a planet, but as custodians of meaning, stewards of life, and witnesses to the unfolding story of existence. So step forward, observe, wonder, act, and know that in doing so, you are participating in something greater than yourself, something infinite, awe-inspiring, and profoundly human. You are living in the fifth dimension, and it is magnificent. And yet, even as we ponder our place in the cosmos, a question emerges, a question that has haunted thinkers for centuries. What does it mean to truly live? Not just to survive, not just to exist, but to live with purpose and awareness in a universe that does not pause for our convenience. You see, we are strange creatures. We spend our days chasing goals, checking boxes, scrolling through screens. Yet all the while, the stars above us continue their silent dance. Galaxies colliding, nebulae forming, black holes bending space-time. And in that vastness, we sometimes forget that every decision we make, every interaction, every thought leaves a mark tiny, perhaps imperceptible, but real. Living in the fifth dimension is about seeing those marks. It is about realizing that your laughter, your curiosity, your ability to question, even your mistakes are all threads in the tapestry of reality. You are not separate from the universe. You are a node in its network, a moment where cosmic energy becomes conscious. Imagine the atoms in your body. Each one was forged in the heart of a star. Every breath you take carries the history of billions of years of chemical reactions and stellar explosions. The carbon in your DNA, the iron in your blood, the oxygen that fills your lungs, these are relics of stars that lived and died long before humans ever walked the earth. In a very literal sense, you are the universe reflecting on itself, and reflection brings responsibility. It demands that we consider not just ourselves, but the interconnected web of life. How do our choices affect the planet we call home? How do our words influence the people around us? How do our actions shape the future of a species that, despite its brilliance, is still learning how to coexist with the very systems that sustain it? This is where the fifth dimension becomes not just an idea, but a practice. It is the practice of awareness, empathy, and intentionality. It is asking ourselves, if the universe has entrusted me with consciousness, what am I going to do with it? Some of you might think, I'm just one person. How much difference can I make? But here's the paradox. In a universe composed of billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, and perhaps countless civilizations, the very fact that you can ponder your existence is rare. Your consciousness is rare, and rarity carries weight. One thoughtful action, one question, one moment of insight can ripple outward in ways you will never fully measure, shaping minds, inspiring hearts, guiding progress. And yet, awareness alone is not enough. Curiosity alone is not enough. Wonder alone is not enough. We must act. We must translate insight into motion, understanding into compassion, knowledge into meaningful change. Because the fifth dimension is not a place you arrive at, it is a dimension you inhabit through your choices, your engagement, your courage to face reality with clarity and hope. Consider the vastness of space. Even the smallest celestial body exerts a gravitational pull. Even the tiniest photon carries information across billions of light years. In the same way, your thoughts, your efforts, your intentions, however small they seem, have a gravitational effect on the world around you. You are a force. You are a participant in an unfolding story that stretches from the first spark of life to the furthest reaches of the observable universe. And here's the beauty. Living in the fifth dimension does not mean being perfect. It does not mean having all the answers or never failing. It means embracing uncertainty, celebrating discovery, and moving forward with humility and curiosity. It means recognizing that while we are small in the cosmic sense, we are vast in the potential of what we can understand, create, and inspire. So, if you look up at the stars tonight, let your gaze linger. Think not just of the galaxies, but of your own galaxy of possibilities, your capacity to act, to learn, to connect. Remember that the universe is not just a backdrop. It is your partner, your mentor, your mirror. And in that reflection, you can see the fifth dimension. The dimension where curiosity meets responsibility, where science meets wonder, where humanity meets its highest potential. You are already living there. And that, perhaps, is the most extraordinary realization of all, that consciousness, curiosity, and courage are the true measures of space and time. That even in a universe indifferent to our existence, we can create meaning, cultivate beauty, and leave a legacy that echoes across the dimensions of life. We are not mere spectators. We are the universe made aware. And in that awareness lies our power, our duty, and our privilege. So step into it, embrace it, live it, and let your life be a testament to the infinite possibilities that awaken when curiosity meets courage, when science meets wisdom, and when awareness meets action. Because you are living in the fifth dimension, and it is quite literally cosmic. And yet, here we are, living lives saturated with information, bombarded by notifications, trends, and the endless noise of the human mind. We are more connected than ever, and yet somehow more disconnected. We can reach across continents in an instant, send a message to a friend on the other side of the planet, and still forget to look up at the night sky. Isn't it strange that we can map the surface of Mars, detect gravitational waves from colliding black holes, and yet struggle to understand the depth of our own consciousness, the consequences of our own choices. And this is where the fifth dimension quietly whispers its lesson. Awareness is not enough without perspective. Curiosity without reflection is just distraction. And knowledge without action? Well, it's like building a telescope and never looking through it. Consider the photons of light that have traveled billions of years from distant stars just to reach your eyes. Each photon carries a story, a record of a moment in time long past, traversing the void of space to meet your consciousness. You are, in that instant, intimately connected to a galaxy millions of light years away. That connection is real. That bond is cosmic. And yet, we often overlook the smaller, equally profound connections in our daily lives. The smile of a stranger, the act of kindness we give or receive, the impact of our decisions on the fragile ecosystems that cradle our existence. This is the paradox of the fifth dimension. It is both vast and intimate. It stretches across the fabric of the cosmos, and yet it is woven into the ordinary moments of your life. It reminds us that every atom in our bodies was once part of a star, that every beat of our heart is synchronized with the rhythms of the universe, and that every action we take ripples outward in ways we may never fully comprehend. And here's the part that truly matters. Living in the fifth dimension is not about escaping reality, it's about confronting it. It's about acknowledging the fragility of life, the impermanence of civilizations, and the vastness of the cosmos, all while choosing to act, to care, to explore, and to create meaning. We are participants in a cosmic story that began long before us and will continue long after we are gone. And yet, in this brief window of consciousness, we have the extraordinary power to shape that story, to leave our mark not in the dust of stars, but in the hearts, minds, and actions of those around us. Imagine, for a moment, the network of influence that each of us carries. Every question we ask, every observation we share, every small act of courage or curiosity becomes a thread in a tapestry that stretches across time and space. The universe is vast, indifferent in its scale, but in that indifference lies our opportunity to create significance, to cultivate wonder, and to forge connections that matter. So, when you look up at the stars tonight, don't just marvel at their distance or beauty. Reflect on your place among them. Think about the photons that traveled billions of years to meet your eyes, and the choices you make that ripple outward through your own network of influence. Understand that being conscious, being curious, being aware, these are not passive states. They are responsibilities. They are invitations to participate in the ongoing story of the cosmos. And here's the humbling, exhilarating truth. The universe doesn't need us to exist. Galaxies will collide, stars will die, black holes will consume long after we are gone. And yet, because we can observe, because we can reflect, because we can act with intention, we become more than mere stardust. We become witnesses, storytellers, participants, stewards of the cosmos. So embrace your curiosity, question boldly, act intentionally, recognize that the fifth dimension is not a distant concept, a science fiction hypothesis, or a mystical realm. It is here, now, in the way you live your life, the way you connect with others, and the choices you make in the face of uncertainty. Because in the end, the measure of a life is not how much we know, but how fully we participate in the unfolding of the universe. And that, my friends, is a responsibility, a privilege, and an adventure unlike any other. You are living in the fifth dimension, and the universe, in its quiet, infinite wisdom, has given you the chance to notice, to engage, and to leave a mark that echoes across time and space. And yet, as vast and magnificent as the cosmos is, it can also be a mirror that reflects not just the stars above, but the world we've built below. We live in an age of extraordinary knowledge, where we can sequence genomes, simulate galaxies, and predict the behavior of subatomic particles. And still, we argue over trivialities, cling to divisions, and often forget that the same laws of physics that govern distant stars also govern our everyday lives. It's a humbling thought. We are stardust made conscious. We are the universe observing itself. And with that consciousness comes choice responsibility. The fifth dimension isn't a place, it's a perspective. It's the ability to see both the micro and the macro, to recognize that the decisions we make in our own lives echo in ways we cannot fully anticipate, just as the death of a star sends ripples across the galaxy. Imagine if every person, for just a moment, considered their life in this cosmic context. Would we argue as fiercely over petty differences? Would we hoard wealth or power at the expense of others? Would we treat our planet, the only known cradle of life in the observable universe, with anything less than reverence? We are capable of greatness, but greatness requires awareness, and awareness in turn requires humility. We are not masters of the cosmos, we are visitors, navigating a small blue planet spinning around an unremarkable star in a galaxy that is one of billions. Yet, in this tiny corner of space, we have the capacity to care, to explore, to innovate, and to inspire. And that is nothing short of miraculous. Living in the fifth dimension means recognizing the delicate interplay between chance and choice. The very atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of exploding stars, and yet here you are, conscious, alive, able to make a difference. That is a cosmic lottery, and yet it comes with a quiet, profound responsibility to use your awareness, your knowledge, your capacity for empathy and reason, not just for yourself, but for the larger story of life itself. And so, when you step outside tonight and see the stars, let them remind you of your place in the universe, but not in a way that diminishes you. Instead, let it empower you. Let it remind you that being aware, being curious, and acting intentionally is not a burden. It is a privilege. It is the way we participate in the grand narrative of existence, the way we honor the billions of years that brought us here. The fifth dimension is not a secret, nor is it a distant plane of reality. It is here, in the choices you make, the knowledge you seek, the kindness you extend, and the courage you muster. It is in the way we balance awe with action, curiosity with humility, and wonder with responsibility. And perhaps the most extraordinary part of all this is that you are not alone. Every person who looks up at the stars, who contemplates their own place in the universe, is traveling along the same journey. Every act of discovery, every moment of empathy, every spark of creativity contributes to the unfolding tapestry of the cosmos. So embrace it. Step into the fifth dimension, not as an escape from reality, but as a deeper engagement with it. Observe, reflect, question, and act. Remember that even the smallest gesture, a conversation, a discovery, a choice to do good ripples outward in ways you may never fully comprehend. And in doing so, you are living a life not only informed by science, but illuminated by its wisdom. Because in the end, to live in the fifth dimension is to understand something profoundly simple. The universe is vast, our time is fleeting, and yet within that fleeting time, we hold the power to notice, to care, and to act. And that perhaps more than any star, any galaxy, or any theory is what makes life meaningful. You are here, you are conscious, you are connected. And that connection, that awareness, is the very thing that allows you to leave a mark, not just on the world, but on the cosmos itself. The universe is not just around you, it is within you. And so, when you look up at the night sky tonight, don't just see stars. See the history of the universe written in light that has traveled billions of years to reach your eyes. See the atoms in your body, once forged in the hearts of dying stars, and realize that you are not merely on this planet, you are this planet, and you are the cosmos made conscious. And in that realization lies both wonder and responsibility. Wonder at the sheer scale of existence, responsibility to live deliberately, to seek truth, to care for one another, and for this fragile world we call home. Because if the universe has given you consciousness, it has also given you a choice to be passive or to participate, to watch or to act. And participating doesn't mean you need to move mountains or discover new worlds. It starts with curiosity, with questioning, with understanding that every decision, every interaction ripples outward in ways we cannot always see, but that does not make them any less real. We are, each of us, a brief spark in a vast, unfolding cosmos. But even a brief spark can illuminate the darkness. Even a brief spark can awaken minds, inspire hearts, and remind the universe that it is being observed and that its story matters. So live like that spark. Question boldly, explore tirelessly, and care deeply. And maybe, just maybe, when the universe looks back at you, it will recognize something familiar: consciousness, curiosity, and the unending drive to understand. Because in the end, the cosmos is not somewhere out there. It is here, it is now, and it is you.